Now, both Politico and The Hill have recently published pieces critical of Senator Bernie Sanders. I know, like, here's my shocked face. Now, Politico is, of course, the establishment press, and they've been writing negative articles about Bernie Sanders since 2016. Again, no surprise, right? But this time, they have ventured into anti-Semitic smears. Now, what do I mean by that? And do I have good examples? I do. Now, the latest attack from Politico came in a now-deleted tweet with a picture of Bernie Sanders surrounded by houses and a money tree. And that text was, Bernie Sanders may be cheap, but he's not poor. And then there's another article, The Secret of Bernie's Millions, with him, like I said, next to the money tree with houses for ears. Now, the reason, of course, that that's problematic is that it plays on tropes. See, Senator Sanders would be the first, if he wins, the first Jewish president of the United States. So this is pretty bad. Now, it was so bad that the Anti-Defamation League had to step in. They said this, quote, in this dangerous climate of rising anti-Semitism, all media organizations have a responsibility to be careful not to perpetuate anti-Semitic tropes, such as those about Jews and wealth. Got to be careful out there, Politico. What are you doing? What are you doing? But apparently, Kristen Tate, who's a libertarian, conservative opinion contributor to The Hill, did not get that message, and she wrote her own article titled, Millions of Taxpayer Dollars Fueled Bernie Sanders to Wealth Success. Oh boy. Odd title, right? So now, look, let's be fair. Let's get into the article. Maybe it won't be that bad. Let's see. We'll read the first paragraph. She writes, Senator Bernie Sanders, the 2016 phantom of the Democratic Party, who is now in second place in the 2020 primary, seems to go out of his way to prove himself a stereotypical socialist who is happy to spend your money while saying nothing of his own. That was the first paragraph. Right into it, man. She just, dives right in. Spares no second. More. His consistent harangues against the millionaires and billionaires contrast sharply against a man that used his time in the public sector to catapult into the top 1% of the nation. Damn. Where do you start, right? Okay, for one, I don't think being worth $2 million, that's how much Bernie Sanders and his family are worth. I don't think that actually is quite enough to put you into the 1%, maybe the top 10% or 5%, but definitely not the 1% or the 0.1%, which is really what Bernie Sanders focuses on. Now, she continues. Sanders has a long history in government, including 8 years as mayor of Burlington and a combined 28 years in the House and Senate. Okay, look, that's factual information. But then adds, never one to hold down a private sector job. He is the only presidential candidate who was kicked out of a hippie commune for laziness. Again, disgusting attack. She then talked about how he's made money from all those years in public service and somehow making that money from his salary as a public official makes him a hypocrite. He took a paycheck. He was mayor of Burlington, then a congressman, and then made a decent amount of money writing a book. Wow, it turns out that if you earn a paycheck from government service and then write a wildly successful book, you're going to have money. Wow. Holy crap, that's amazing. Congratulations for figuring out that mystery of how Bernie Sanders is now still the poorest member of Congress. So now, why is it bad for Sanders to take a paycheck, write a book, and still stay one of the poorest members of Congress, while everyone else happens to be worth a lot more? I don't know, but of course somebody will say that. Jeff, he's run against millionaires and billionaires, and now he is a millionaire and a billionaire. He's at least now a millionaire. So obviously he must be a hypocrite. Yeah, but is he advocating for cutting his own taxes now that he's there? Is he advocating for, eliminating the estate tax? Is he doing that? Is he advocating for more money in politics so that he can have more influence? Is he taking large donations from corporate donors? Is he doing any of that? No, absolutely not. No. The thing is, he actually wants more taxes on himself. And that same author goes on to say, but he didn't pay more than he's supposed to. He pays a lower tax bracket. That's because, he doesn't set the tax brackets. And he's actually trying to make a more progressive tax system. Like, it's basically you're a member of society, ha ha. But wait, I didn't set up that society. And that he's been trying to change that so that people who are wealthier, end up paying more in marginal taxes. Again, it's ridiculous smear after ridiculous smear, right? Besides, what he's running against isn't necessarily people making money. It's a system that allows for mass concentrations of wealth and power from the donor class. That's what he wants to change. Look, not everybody who has $1 million or more is a bad person. No, it really matters how you make that money, right? And for Bernie Sanders hasn't hurt anyone making that money. He hasn't cut wages. He even has a union. He pays his staffers $15 an hour. Is one of the first to do that. And so, is he stepping on people? No. Did he step on people to get wealthy? No. He helped the area of Burlington so much that he kept getting reelected. And he has helped Vermont so much that he continues to get reelected. He's incredibly popular in his home state. Gee, I wonder why. But of course, look, disgusting attack after disgusting attack. But back to the most disturbing part, as I said before. The anti-Semitic imagery of the old Jewish person taking your money and only spending 4% of it on charity. That's what's disgusting. The old tropes. And they're coming out one after another from the establishment press. And that's gross. Now, thankfully, there have been people who have come out against this. AOC, for one, she tweeted, "Can Politico explain to us how photoshopping money trees next to the only Jewish candidate for president, talking about how cheap and rich he is, isn't anti-Semitic? Or are they just letting this happen because he's a progressive politician that they don't like?" Sirota, David Sirota, who is his communications director, wrote this. So Politico deleted its wildly anti-Semitic tweet, but it's important for everyone to not forget this episode. At a moment when we have a president who called Nazis very fine people, this newspaper promoted the cheap Jew trope against the president's opponent. Disgusting. And it's true. And now that attack has been called out for what it is, well, just today, Politico has a new attack against Bernie Sanders in an article titled "Bernie Sanders Extreme Makeover," with the subheading, quote, "A candidate with aversion to smoozing and ring kissing bows to the necessities of a top-tier presidential campaign." Now look, if you read the article itself isn't necessarily all that bad. It says that Sanders has been seeking endorsements from members of Congress and that his pitch is that he is the most electable against Donald Trump. Now, the second one is subjective. I do believe that he is the most electable, and he certainly has the poll numbers to back it up as of right now. But the framing here, if you look at it, it's Bernie Sanders courting the establishment that he hates. Hypocrite. And that's the problem here. Look, they are deeply scared of him. And that's why all these articles are coming out, because he represents real change. So this is a good example of a hit piece. Now, if you don't think that there's a smear campaign going against Bernie Sanders from the mainstream, then you're either part of it or you're not paying attention. This is how they do it. Sometimes it's gross, and sometimes it's very subtle. Now, look, if you want to criticize Bernie Sanders on policy, that's absolutely fine. Look, I've criticized him on policy before myself. However, it might be kind of hard to do now, as most Democrats have actually adopted his policies in the mainstream. But to be fair, there's some things that maybe you can still criticize him for. Anti-Semitic smears and misleading headlines are a completely other thing. And so it just all goes to show you that in this fight, the establishment is willing to fight dirty. Expect more of this and expect it to continue to be nasty. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.